My name is RJ Scriber, and welcome to the debut of my new YouTube channel, Fiendish Fables and other stories that'll be sure to upset you. It's a place where you can let your freak colors shine, an outlet that allows you to let your hair down, expand your mind, and hopefully enjoy a story that tingles your horror senses. My sole mission is to entertain you, so please allow me to take you on some journeys featuring bloodlusted assassins, howling werewolves, the dead who don't ever want to stay dead, farmers who use more than just fertilizer to grow their crops, and much more. The first adventure is under the Anthology of the Blaque Macabre series. Accounts, which are entwined based on creatures of myth and make-believe that begin appearing throughout the world. Monsters long thought fake, proving themselves very real. Which brings me to the story I'll be reading in this video. Amberly, a most unfortunate tale of death and rebirth. Let me ask you this. If someone you loved more than anything had died, would you not bring them back if given a chance? Sure, it's a question that has been asked before, perhaps time and time again, but the issue still stands. Would you? A father, mother, sister, brother? How about an innocent child? Your child? Well, Nell and Rodney Gray never asked themselves this question. Perhaps if they had, they would have been more prepared. Without further ado, may I present to you Season 1 of Anthology of the Blaque Macabre presents Amberly. May 10th, 2003. Before, when it made more sense. Ask any woman about the one day they always dreamed about, as far back as they could remember, and the consensus would be their wedding day and having children, preferably back to back. It's no different for Nell Gray. She wanted a man that looked like Jonathan Taylor Thomas, sang like Brian McKnight, and wooed her how Cameron James wooed Bianca Stratford. As for the wedding itself, simple. Outside ceremony and near a waterfall. Maybe not so simple, as long as it was outside. Nell had these visions of the warm spring air gently blowing through her hair, almost as if it looked slow motion, just flowing back and forth, gently caressing her soft, toned shoulders, enough to drive the man who awaited her hand wild with anticipation. It would be sunny, no overcast or a single cloud in sight, no sudden downpour. There would be hundreds of people, most of them she wouldn't even know. She didn't care. Passers-by would see her beauty and need to crash her wedding, just to get a glance at this beautiful maiden. Men would ask themselves, how can I get someone like her? I need her. For just once in her life, she wanted to be the center of attention. She needed to be the prettiest girl in the room, even though she always had been. It was a modest life she'd lived. She never saw her worth, but Rodney did. Of course he did, he's a man. He saw her physical beauty as all men have and still do. Yet, it was her inner beauty that surprised him. There's one thing he knows, everything Nell does is out of love. No matter how morally wrong or foolhardily it may be. How else can he explain the ring on his finger? She gave Rodney a chance to win her heart, which he did, although it was the pain he had gone through his entire life, the stories of grief and disappointment he had told Nell, that broke her heart just enough for him to sneak past her guard and straight into her spirit. He was JTT. He was Brian McKnight. He was Cameron James. At least to Nell. In reality, he was none of those men, not even close. He was a nerd. Not by nerd standards of being savvy or cool in today's culture, just a title by people who never understood him because he was weird and peculiar. Jokes he would tell never had a punchline. He was never funny enough to finish them, though Nell never cared. Rodney thought it was a joke the first time Nell asked him out. He figured she was being cruel, maybe a bet made by her and some of her girlfriends. There had been so many before him who had tried and failed to win Nell's hand. Why wouldn't he think she was lying? Some of my friends jest, saying I'm as weird as Rodney Gray. You'd make a great couple, they'd say. They were kidding, but they aren't wrong. Want to go out sometime? Maybe? Word for word, that's how Nell asked him out for their first date. Imagine the look on his face when he realized she was being serious. The dumbest gratifying smile, but she thought it was cute. She never understood how anyone could be so stupidly happy from her asking them on a date. Poor Nell never knew how awesome she was. She never had a mother that praised her or a father who supported her. It was really all new to her. Without a doubt, Rodney wanted to shout, "Fuck yeah!" Instead, a simple, "Yeah, sure," sufficed. Best decision of his life. Easiest too. He always just thought she made a mistake and he was grateful for it. Nell has been nothing but unwavering and loyal, something he along the way had forgotten himself. Perhaps it was cockiness, now that he had Nell in his arm. She was a catch, a woman other women were jealous of, just from looking at her. Ended up being a severe problem, and the main reason she has no friends today. Some people, most people, are just plain intimidated. That in and of itself is no secret. Nell is naive at times, but she's not stupid. She saw the jealousy ooze from their iris. At heart, she's just an exotic girl next door type, would rather stay home in pajamas or blue jeans with a dirty white shirt than to go out and dress up to play Barbie. In retrospect, that's what most likely made her appealing to a lot of men. Even women, at least those with lower self-esteem who put in the effort to look beautiful on a daily basis. And here is Nell, a living, breathing deity of godly good looks. She doesn't even try. Seldom do a lot of selfish wishes from a little girl's perfect wedding dream scenario come true. In the end, doesn't even matter whether it's getting married on a desert island surrounded by nothing but beautiful clear water, or on top of a mountain in a resort with freshly fallen snow cascading down like clouds from heaven. That's a best case scenario. No different than getting married in a state park 100 feet from the water, getting sunburned on a slightly muggy May afternoon, or a warm October when it decides last minute to rain during the vows. That's worst case. Mother Nature is a bitch, and she never apologizes. Never does make a damn bit difference. Not when true love and eternal appreciation are streaming out of the eyes of the bride and groom. Sometimes the most beautiful things in life are the hiccups. Nothing is perfect, but you can sure as hell act like it is, at least for one day. Even though a lot of people know what they would like their wedding to be, sometimes the reality might not exceed the expectations. For Nell it did. Didn't matter how grand her wedding was, she got what she wanted. That was Rodney standing across from her at the altar, staring back into her loving eyes. That day meant more than just nuptials. It involved the man swearing he'd love his new bride forever, no matter what their future held. And for the most part, he does love Nell. Good man, terrible mistakes bullshit. It meant taking his last name, a constant reminder that she had a man who loved her. It was now her job to represent the gray name as well. Not out of respect of the generations that came before, but for the generations coming after Nell and Rodney. Their children, children's children, and so on. It meant the chance of starting fresh in life, and writing her story any way she damn well pleased. What became of their life and their daughter wasn't her fault. Amberly was supposed to be the first of 5 planned children. In a perfect world, it would have been 2 girls with 3 big brothers to protect them. Rarely does life go as planned, something Nell has learned many times in her season, though short tenure. Noble thoughts are noble. The real world changes often. Sometimes, things turn out pretty good. But for the rest of the Earth's inhabitants, they know nothing but failure, dashed hopes, grief, and atonement. No matter the cards Rodney and Nell were dealt since a young age, they played them and did everything they could to rewrite their destiny. For a while, when they were younger, it worked. Like most things in life, it catches up to everyone and knocks them down a peg. In Rodney and Nell's case, it can flat out throw you down a flight of stairs. November 5th, noon. You're never too young to die. Rodney Gray has come to realize, only to deal with the strain he currently feels tugging at his heartstrings. He's in pain, though he's just acting brave for his equally distraught wife, now. It's not natural to bury someone who hasn't experienced the world or anything it can offer. The child should bury the parent. It's an unwritten rule, but it's natural. You're born, you get in trouble as a youngster, you live and learn. Keyword being live. You grow up, get a job, get married, have a family, enjoy the rest of your life any way you can, then you die. Boring life to some, normal to others. It has the stats backing it. What happens when you can no longer look into the piercing blue eyes of the little girl you birthed? When you can't hear the soft, almost angelic voice say, "Mommy? Daddy?" The laughs, giggles, the caress of her smooth porcelain skin, the crying, shock, pain, anger, depression, the reflection of a short life with memories you can no longer recall. There are no upward turns or working through it, not when you don't want to be saved, not when you refuse to hope, not when you abandon acceptance. There will never be any blissful escape to the times when it all made sense for the mourning parents, when everything was fine. Not in real life. Their little girl is dead, and that's that. The honor of burying your body into that 6-foot hole should belong to your children, never the other way around. Unfortunately, shit happens. Life happens. And the most beautiful thing about life, some will say, is death. It's the most frightening. Anything, anywhere, to anyone can happen at any time. The Greys are a young couple, unassuming in many ways, both good-looking. Be that as it may, it has not stopped people from asking how Rodney, a shorter man with glasses and a hair-tufted mess, could ever catch the eye of Nell. She stands tall like an Amazon. She is the high school jock to Rodney's varsity cheerleader, though Nell never saw herself above Rodney. Even with her beauty, in her mind, they are equals. Similarities are there. They grew up together in the same shitty town of Leeds, Michigan, about 20 minutes outside Highland Park. They went to the same shitty school and had the same shitty friends. They united in matrimony when they were both just 24. 9 years of marriage. Life's supposed to be different from them now. A new start outside of Leeds, a fresh beginning in Olathe, Michigan. It's every inch different than their hometown. Great food, friendly, caring neighbors, and almost zero crime. Generally ideal place to settle and start a family. The old story of give to your kids what you never had. That is their goal, or was, to become better than their parents, which in certain respects wouldn't be that hard. They were both raised in direful homes. They never really had a chance, but they fought through their wars. Rodney grew up with a single mother who drank all her worries and sorrows away. After all, it's not every day that your husband gets a sex change and leaves you for another man. Rodney's father, Nate, figured that his mother was such a shit wife, or a woman in general, he'd give being a female a shot and prove it wasn't that hard. The humorous truth about that? His father did. The person Rodney remembers as his father has been married to a man for the last 15 years and doesn't even know Nate used to be a guy. As for Nell, both her parents were dead by the time she turned 8. They were murdered. There was one thing that Leeds had plenty of. It was heroin. Any drugs, really. Also a lot of thugs who are surprisingly punctual when they expect payment. There's no way to explain to a young child, boy or girl alike, why mommy and daddy were gunned down in front of their eyes. She learned what her parents were because her relatives never hid it. It was a harsh truth learned from their mistakes. Crude, but never seemed to bother Nell that much anyway. She got to live with her grandmother. Hardly an angel of a woman, but at least she was constant, and over the years Nell let her anger of her parents phase out any loving memories she might have still held on to. Even with a childhood that should have shaped and molded them into nobodies, drunks, users, or abusers, they both survived. All Nell has ever wanted was to be able to trust someone who would do as they promised, a companion to share her load of heartbreak and disappointment with. She needed Rodney. She just hadn't met him yet. A match for Rodney's need to feel loved, to be told he was worthwhile, a valid sentiment other than the lies found at the bottom of an empty bottle. He never asked that of Nell, but he never had to. Misery consents misery. They were fools who rushed into love for the sake of not feeling abandoned by the world, yet somehow found their soulmates. The tragedies, deaths, and disappointments they both experienced in their short lives created them. At the time, made them appreciative. They're two sides of the same coin, all they needed was chance. Unfortunately, when you're bred into such adversity and pessimism, it's bound to follow you until the end of your days like a demonic shade following, waiting to sink in its fangs at the slightest moment of weakness. November 5th, 7:10 p.m. The front door to the Gray's home opens as the brisk fall air rushes in, as Noah and Rodney step inside heavy-footed. It's not too late, but the drained emotions make it hard for Noah and Rodney to stay awake. They're dressed in their Sunday best, but it's a Thursday. Nell, saddened, eyes glued to the floor in a trance, her pale complexion pouring off grief. A sense of absolute dread that is rarely seen, and, if you ever catch a glimpse of it, Just pray that it hasn't befallen unto you. Unsurpassed agony, profound sorrow. Her body language is screaming, "Help me!" all the while whispering, "Just leave me alone." She sits on the couch while the love of her life, Rodney, caresses her back, consoling her, trying to anyway. Not even once wondering if she'd be willing to comfort him as well. The pain and grief she is feeling, he feels too, but he has to be stronger. After all, he was raised, men have to console their women during tragedies, to be their rock, the pillar of strength. He swore he'd do anything for Nell as long as they both shall live. That's how it goes, and that's what he plans on doing. As long as he can, or as long as he's alive, whichever comes first. "Would you like anything to eat?" he asked Nell. He does nothing but stare at the living room wall. "Honey, you need to eat. Something, anything, please. You're weak." But still, she stares off into oblivion. Food is the last thing on her mind. Rodney kisses her head and walks away. As she shifts her body to lay down, a single tear falls from her reddened eyes. Any sadness that she has left has all been used up, except for that one final drop of liquid rue. November 6th, midnight. "Help me?" The little girl's voice rings out through the darkened bedroom. Nell jolts awake, breathing hard, sweating, though her skin is cold and clammy. She looks all around the room, unable to tell if the scream was a dream or reality. If so, who is in the house? Is someone in their bedroom? Hard to say in the dark. She can't remember a time their bedroom has been this lightless. Rodney's no help. He's sound asleep. As with Nell, he's been through a lot. He deserves a rest, just as much as she does. She knows this. Hopefully it's a peaceful slumber. She surveys the room, trying her best to widen her sleep-crusted eyes to pierce through the black. Her worst fear now is she doesn't want to find someone else in the room, looking back. Only, she does. A silhouette in the shape of a person stands against the far wall. It's a small person. Doesn't move or make a sound, just stands still and watches. Nell, practically frozen in fear and disbelief, can't help but call out, Hello? There's no answer. The silhouette now visibly starts to breathe slowly, deep inhales and slow exhales, potentially angered. That's what the body language is suggesting. Hello? Nell asks again, but still, no answer. After a couple of moments, she manages to find her courage as she slowly reaches over to her nightstand for her light, hoping the illumination will wash away her fears and prove that no one is there. But instead of the lamp, she feels hair. Cold, wet, dirty hair riddled with the soft touch of mud. Nell begins shaking as she slowly turns to see a little girl, her face rotting yet skin white as snow. Nell's mouth drops, and after seconds of disbelief, she gasps, "Amberly?" The little person rises and climbs atop the bed and straddles Nell's chest, snuggling like a kitten, looking for warmth, looking to cuddle, only tighter. "Amberly," Nell says again, her voice breaking. The little girl soothes Nell by rubbing her cheek, though her right hand is covered in thick blood. Nell sees it, and with a shake in her voice, she curiously asks, "Are you okay, sweetie?" She looks down to see the little girl's right hand dug inside of her mother's chest, smiling before violently ripping Nell to pieces. Fingers clawing into Nell's neck, tearing apart the skin. As Nell screams, the blood pours thicker over her face, drowning her painful shrieks. Violently, she gets shaken back and forth as a distant voice calls out, "Nell! Babe, wake up!" The voice starts as a faint, shouting in the back of her head, increases as Rodney shakes her restless body, trying to wake her. It was just a dream, albeit a genuine and horrific dream. The bedroom door cracks open as Nell walks out, trying her best at convincing herself that the nightmare was not real, even if secretly she wishes to some extent that it was, if only to see her daughter one more time, but that's not how she remembers Amberly. She wraps her robe around her soft shoulders that carry all her sorrows as she walks to the kitchen. Might be late, but it's time to eat something finally. She's not really hungry, but it's better than falling back to sleep, back into that damn nightmare. It was just so real, so elusive. Nell could even smell the rotten flesh. She felt the cold air breezing throughout the bedroom and the ice grip of the little girl's touch upon her neck. her skin being tugged and pulled before hearing the slice of still warm, soft tissue as it was being ripped open. The tepid crimson that slowly started to crawl down her throat and chest before the pressure caused the blood to gush onto her face, covering her eyes and filling her nose, cascading over the wrinkles on her cheeks. Never before in her life has she ever experienced a dream so lifelike. Perhaps it's a bad omen. The truth is, now that she has dealt with the greatness of the nightmare, she relaxes. After all, it wasn't real. She's too old to be frightened of bugaboos that would awe only small children. Adults have more important shit to deal with, such as a little thing called life, which right now is kicking Nell straight in the gut. She reaches into the refrigerator for a container of leftover lasagna when a sudden, creeping breeze lifts her robe. An almost perverted circumstance. She gasps from the chill as she turns around to find nothing but leaves rustling over the kitchen floor. With a troubled look, she walks toward the living room to see the front doors wide open, with nothing but the moonlight and cold November night air casually inviting themselves in. She stands frozen in fear. How long has it been opened? She asks herself. Has something come in? Someone? She grabs the first thing she touches on top of the counter for protection, which just happens to be a rolling pin. With her mind running wild with a vast amount of paranoid scenarios and armed in a manner, she slowly walks to the front door, dreading every step. Her terrible dream and the open door is too coincidental. Her brain begs for safety as it screams, "Go get Rodney!" As something supernatural is drawing her, causing her to abandon rational thought. The tiny hairs on her neck pointing and standing erect, almost guiding her curiosity. Was there a little girl? Nell gets to the door and steps out onto the front porch. She and Rodney live alone, secluded miles away from anyone. Alas, the only thing she sees is the full moon, and its glow shines off the bare trees and frosty grass, and she can see pretty decently into the surrounding forest. If anyone were hiding, she would know. There's no one. No signs of life, human or animal. Perhaps a part of her wanted there to be something. Anything. She's been longing all day for some hope. The nightmare was no hope. Just a twisted vision to see the little girl that haunts her every waking and now sleeping moment. She turns around defeated, her nerves settling back down when she sees something on the floor. Footprints. Small, muddy human footprints that lead towards the hallway, childlike in their size. Her eyes open wide. Someone is in the house. The prints drive past the kitchen down the hall toward her and Ronnie's bedroom, and the steps are irregular. She's no detective, but judging by how the left print is flat and deliberate, the right is only the toes. Whomever it is, they may be injured. That's when Nell looks down to see mud between her toes. She's walked right through it as soon as she emerged from her room and never even noticed. She calls out weakly, "Rodney! Rodney!" There's no way he can hear her. It's nothing but a whisper. She can barely listen to herself. Even to get him, she's gonna have to follow the prints. Though she needs to. Rodney could get hurt and that thought upsets her. Even if she's scared, Rodney is all she has left. She walks along the clotted dirt. Fear drips from every pore in her skin as she looks down the hallway, but the prints don't go to her bedroom. Instead, they lead to an adjacent room. In an instant, Nell goes from worried to curious. Impressive calmness persuades her that maybe everything is okay. Even on the chance that someone else is in the house, it's still okay. Almost as if they belong here, although there should be nothing in that room except for memories. Nell reaches for the dusty doorknob and twists. The dander explodes off the hinges like firecrackers, and the creaks echo as the door opens. Slowly. It's incredible how much dirt can cover something in only 2 weeks. How quickly things can go from beautiful and vibrant to miserable and grimy when there is no one to occupy an area. Nell finds herself standing, staring inside the dark room from the doorway. She takes a deep breath before flipping the light switch, ready for someone to come running out from the dark and bombard her as soon as the bulb turns bright. But that doesn't happen. And even with the room lit, everything she has seen in movies and heard from stories of the news, she knows better than the Russians somewhere after it's been proven she's not alone. But again, this feels different. And this is just not another room. It's a bedroom. More clearly, a little girl's bedroom. White walls where giant red silk curtains hang over the windows as the wind rushes in from the hallway. They sway to and fro, almost hypnotizing Nell. Colorful paintings created by the hand of an adventurous and artistic child. Years of memories that she had taken for granted. Nell's eyes swell up with tears as she looks over the family pictures and selfies that are hung on the wall of her and Rodney, and for the little person who occupied this room that is no longer there. Amberly. Beautiful little girl with a head full of thick blonde hair and with blue eyes so blue they glowed like Arctic ice. Could even make any villain with a heart made of malice crack a smile. Nell wipes the salty water from her eyes long enough to see the footprints leading to the red painted closet door. Nell and Amberly's favorite color, color of passion and love. Nothing represented their love more than the color red. Nell moves closer to the door. She hears whimpering, soft and guttural. Her hands shake as she reaches for the doorknob and slowly opens it. The stench of sickness seeps out, slamming into her nose like a knockout punch. She can't help but cough in disgust. Under the clothes hanging in the closet, she sees two small feet, one dressed in a white ballet flat and the other bare and dirty, cuddled up next to one another, shivering cold. Whoever's hiding is scared to be seen. There were 1,000,001 things that were coursing through Nell's mind. They've all vanished with the sight of little feet. Child's feet. "Who's in here?" Nell asks, but only hears more whimpering. She extends her bony fingers, and with her right hand she slowly moves the clothes on the rack to the side and sees the little blonde-haired girl. Familiar, her skin as pale as the dead. Her puffy white and pink pop-over dress covered in muck. The shock of this bizarre discovery is enough to send Nell backward in mental rejection, physically tripping over herself and falling to the ground as she begs for air. It's the little girl from the pictures, and her dream. Nell's excited heart thumps louder and louder. For a moment she can't even breathe. "Amberly? Amberly?" Nell cries out. It is Amberly Gray. Nell and Rodney's 10-year-old daughter. Their hope, their joy, the reason they wanted to start fresh, the reason they moved to Olathe. The best thing they've ever done with their lives. And despite Nell's reaction and her disbelief, this should be a joyous occasion, and the only reason Nell is in complete discord is because there's no way Amberly should be in her closet behind the red door. In her home. Alive. Only for the simple reason that 10-year-old Amberly Matilda Gray was murdered 2 weeks ago.